Tonight in our Grand Qiyam, we had four distinct topics to discuss pertaining the last night of Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, recitation of the Quran, it's never too late, i'tikaf, and of course, Eid prayer and the Eid day. Since I only had 6 minutes, I'll just say one or two more things. I was caught off guard when I learned in Tampa, when I moved there, I was living there for 2 years before I came here, that many people opted out of the Eid prayer. A lot of the younger generation say, you know what, why wake up early and go to Eid prayer? Wake up at 10, 11 o'clock, dress up, and go to the parties. The Ramadan theme has totally changed. It's gone from, devotion, worship, introspection, reflection, and building yourself and going and celebrating it to every day is a party. Every Ramadan day is a party. So I'm hoping that inshallah, over a period of time, we can change that culture back to a culture of 30 days of spirituality and 330 days of fun, inshallah. There's nothing wrong with that, right? And the beautiful thing is, the sign of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's acceptance is that you will feel that you honored this month and the practices. Allah honored you. And if you continue to honor it outside Ramadan, Allah will continue to honor you. I'll end with one story. Alhamdulillah, taking Hajj groups, mashallah, almost close to 2 decades. And 1 year, which really, hit me. What happens in Arafah is that people come together, they start praying around 1 o'clock, 1:30, and there's around 3, 4 o'clock, it's pitch silence in Arafah. Usually the Iranian groups, the Turkish groups, they have their dhikr and Quran recitation, that also kind of phases out, and it's quiet. And people are worshipping and praying to Allah. Then around 5 o'clock-ish, you start hearing a bit of walking and moving. And by 6:20, 6:30, around the time of sunset, is when the people start rejoicing and meeting each other. Hajj Mubarak. Because Arafah is the most important day of Hajj. And so they think that, okay, it's done now, like we got it. Which mashallah is good. We still got Muzdalifah, you still got the other 3 days, a lot of work to do. While we were standing there waiting for our bus to arrive, one of the sisters from our group, it was not even half an hour after Maghrib, and she fell straight on the floor and she husked. An amazing sign of acceptance was she asked Allah for acceptance. She asked Allah for a connection, and Allah gave it to her, subhanAllah. And so remember, it's a process. This is a journey. Don't take this Ramadan as just a one-off thing. It's a journey. And inshallah, over time, if we continue to do our due diligence, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide us. And inshallah, things will only get better, inshallah. We're going to move on to the questions. Sheikh As-Salam, can you tell us how many questions are there now, mashallah? 50. So we request everyone, inshallah, we've got 50 donations. We're asking for 50 more. How's that, inshallah? 50 more questions. No, inshallah. We are going to try to do our best to address these questions as swiftly as possible, keeping in mind we are not going to go into the intricacies of these questions to try to explain different viewpoints. Our goal is to kind of, inshallah, address the questions that people have asked and hopefully answer them. So that being said, we all are looking at the questions. Sheikh Aslan, can you lead us here, inshallah? Sir, can I take on?
Okay, bismillah. I guess I'll start off with answering a couple of questions while the other imams are going through the 50 questions. By the way, your questions are still coming. I cannot guarantee that we'll get to the ones that are coming now because we already have enough on our plate. So this is one question that I thought I'll try to answer. It says, Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Is it better to do quantity or quality in the last 10 nights when it comes to Taraweeh prayer or any type of ibadat for that matter? Allahu Alam, I think the answer is obvious. Quality is always more important than quantity, obviously. So if you're just for the sake of quantity, if the quality is going to suffer, That's not the right attitude. It's important to have khushu' in our salah, khushu' in our zikr, khushu' in our recitation of the Quran. And if the large quantity is coming at the expense of khushu', then we're doing it wrong. So quality is more important than quality. However, don't let that be an excuse for laziness. Don't let that be an excuse for laziness. If you have the potential to do more, do more. Push yourself. This is the time to push yourself, insha'Allah ta'ala. But if it's this or that, I would say quality is more important. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. The other question is salam. Wa alaikum salam. The sister mentioned her name. I don't think I need to mention it. My question is, I am streaming the Taraweeh prayer from home through your website because I don't have a car right now. Are my prayers counting? The simple answer to your question is no. Your prayers are not counting. You cannot follow us in Taraweeh from your home through live stream. So your salah is not counting that way. However, I understand why you're doing that. Because you enjoy it, you want to be a part of the congregation and all of that. My advice to you, my sister, is to sit there and listen and enjoy to the recitation of the Quran. Just sit there, listen, watch, enjoy. But then, before that or after that, pray your own Taraweeh. And your Taraweeh doesn't have to be as long as our Taraweeh. You don't have to do Khatm al-Quran in your Taraweeh. You can recite Surah Al-Ikhlas in every rak'ah. It's okay. You will get reward for that, insha'Allah ta'ala. So do your Taraweeh by yourself, and then you can sit and watch and enjoy and benefit from the live stream. Wallahu ta'ala.
I'll take one question, inshallah. What is the English word of taqwa? There is no English translation for taqwa. It's not just fear, piety. It's a combination of many things. The way I see it, it is saving yourself by putting yourself into the protection of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving forward, Sheikhs, you guys could take the mic also and answer any of these questions. How can we soften our hearts during the month of Ramadan and keep our hearts soft for the rest of the year? Some of us read Quran, pray the Fara'id, Taraweeh, Qiyam, etc. But sometimes our hearts are still hard or seem dead. Astaghfirullah. So brothers and sisters, the main purpose of Ramadan is to take the deeds that you're performing and allow them to enhance the quality of your life, your character, your dealings, how you speak to people. All these things, the worship, acts of worship are supposed to reinforce something in you. They're not just practices. And so if they helped you a little bit wake up the heart. You know, I was talking about it the other night about تَخْشَعُ الْقُلُوبِ أَلَا بِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ تَطْمَئِنُّ الْقُلُوبِ. With the remembrance of Allah, your hearts find peace. The fact that we're coming here every night in every masjid just to pray Tarawih, even if it's 2 or 4 rak'ah, it's because your hearts are finding peace. Maybe your brain and heart hasn't communicated that yet to each other, but there's something that you're getting. So there is something that is gained. You're gaining something in return of your acts of piety. All I would request is consistency and continuity, inshallah.
So there's one question that is, there's been a lot of debate about this question. Is it preferred for sisters to perform qiyam at home or at the masjid, and what are the blessings for each? First of all, is that as far as women coming to the masjid and so forth, there are a lot of people who would say that it is preferable for women to pray at home, and we see that from like many of the things of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, they would prefer that women would stay at home and pray. However, we do find the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, a very clear text: "La tamna'u ama Allahi min al-masajid." Do not stop the women from coming to the masjid. So that's why I would say this: that for many women, they can connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when they are at home, when they are secluded from everyone, when they don't have too many people around them. So then for them, pray at home, it is more preferable. And for some sisters, they find it more beneficial to their faith and their iman to come and be part of a gathering where they're hearing talks, they're hearing lectures, they're standing in a congregation, they're saying collectively with other sisters. The most important thing is whatever helps you connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then do that, inshallah. It should not become an issue in the family, because once again, the Prophet ﷺ has made it very clear: do not stop them. meaning that if they want to stay at home, that's okay, but if they do want to come to a masjid, then do not stop them.
Any questions? Someone's asking about kafara, how to make up for fasts that they've missed in previous Ramadan due to health issues and could not make up the complete 30 days. I'm hearing a lot of people nowadays talk about, well, I have a missed fast from last year, I'll just give kafara. Kafara are for people who cannot fast. And they're in the foreseeable future, they may not be able to fast. If you're not willing to fast, say because of the exams, I'm going to pay $10 and just get it over, done with, no. Make up those fasts, inshallah. Once Ramadan is finished, after Eid, celebrate your Eid, and then make up your fast after, inshallah. But don't write it off so easily and say, I'll just pay $10. It's easier for me to do that than to, make up these fasts. That's not the way we should go about doing this, inshallah. Anyone else? Next question?
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh Yasir. Welcome to IACC. Ahlan wa sahlan, hayyakum. Sheikh, since you're here, we're actually doing Q&A. We already did the few pieces of advice, so we'd like for you to give some advice also about the last 10 days of Ramadan. We can still do a few Q&A, give you a few minutes to think, or you can speak now if you'd like.
You are the host, whatever you say, I'm happy.
I think people have been waiting for you, so bismillah.
Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa wala amma ba'd. First and foremost, jazakumullah khair for inviting me, and I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to utilize these nights in the most effective manner. Very briefly, I know you guys already had a lecture. I apologize, I had a lecture in East Plano, so I just coming from that. Very briefly, and perhaps our speakers before have covered this, why is Laylatul Qadr called Laylatul Qadr? What is the meaning of Laylatul Qadr? Laylatul Qadr has a number of meanings in the Arabic language. First and foremost, the word Qadr means significance. So when you say a person has Qadr, you mean he has grandeur, he has majesty. In Arabic you say Sahib al-Qadr, Dhul Qadr. This is a person of majesty. So the Laylatul Qadr is a Layla of majesty. It is a night of grandeur. It is a night of sacredness. And this is proven in another verse. Allah mentions Laylatul Qadr in Surah Al-Dukhan. Inna anzalnahu fi laylatin mubarakah. We have revealed the Quran in a blessed night. So Allah calls Laylatul Qadr Laylatin mubarakah. And the meaning of barakah is ziyadatul khair, an extra good. Barakah means that whatever you have, if it has barakah, it will be more than what it is. So $100 that have barakah is like $1,000. Okay, a time that has barakah, you do more in that time than if you didn't have barakah. So this is a night that is Laylatul Qadr, a night of significance, a night of magnificence, meaning it is a night that is blessed. If you do one, Allah will reward you 100. This is what the first meaning is. The second meaning of Qadr is, Qadr here means tightness or restriction. As Allah says in the Quran, فَمَنْ قُدِرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقُهُ, whoever's rizq is tight. So Laylatul Qadr, the night of tightness. Why is it called the night of restriction? Because there is no space in the heavens except that it is packed with angels. So it is a night that there is no space for any being because the angels have packed it. تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا. All of the angels come down on that night. It is a night, as Abu Hurairah said, that the number of angels in the heavens are more than the sand in the ocean, the sand in the desert. So all of the sand in the desert, Abu Hurairah said, the angels on Laylatul Qadr are more than that number. So it is called Laylatul Qadr because it is packed to capacity. As our Prophet ﷺ said, أَطَّتِ السَّمَاءُ وَحُقَّ لَهَا أَنْ تَئِطَّ, that the heavens are creaking. And why should they not creak? مَا مِن مَوْضِعٍ, there's not even a space of 4 fingers except that there is an angel, qa'im or raki' or sajid, praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it is called Laylatul Qadr because it is jam-packed with angels. So there's no space for anything other than angels. So it is the night of tightness. And wherever the angels come, Allah's barakah comes. Wherever the angels come, Allah's rahmah comes. Wherever the angels come, Allah's sakina comes. So it is the night that is packed with the angels, and especially, of course, تنزل الملائكة والروح فيها. The angel Jibreel, that is called الروح, نزل به الروح الأمين. The sacred angel, the holy angel, the trustworthy angel. Jibreel is روح الأمين, and our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is الصادق الأمين. The angel is al-Amin, and the Prophet is Amin. So Allah chose the Amin angel for the Amin Rasul. So Allah Azza wa Jal sent the Quran through the Ruh al-Amin to the Bashar who is Amin as well. So Allah is saying that on Laylatul Qadr, Jibreel himself comes down. That magnificent angel whom the Prophet ﷺ, when he saw him in his original form, Allah mentions it in the Quran as a miracle for him. لَقَدْ رَأَى مِنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِ الْكُبْرَى. The Prophet ﷺ saw of the major miracles of Allah. To see Jibreel is a miracle. To see Jibreel is one of the ayat of Allah, not just any ayah. Ayat al-Kubra, one of the biggest miracles. And Aisha said the Prophet ﷺ twice in his original form, and that is called in the Quran, لَقَدْ رَأَى مِنْ آيَاتِ رَبِّهِ الْكُبْرَى. To see Jibreel is an ayah. How about the presence of Jibreel? How about being around Jibreel? The Prophet ﷺ wanted to be more with Jibreel. He said to Jibreel, why don't you come down more? I want to be with you more often. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Quran, وَمَا نَتَنَزَّلُ إِلَّا بِأَمْرِ رَبِّكَ. We don't have permission to come down unless Allah allows us to come down. I cannot just come and chit-chat with you. Allah has to allow me permission to come down. So Jibreel does not come down anymore. The same entity who spoke with Adam and saw the creation of Adam, the same entity who taught Noah how to build a ship, the same entity who destroyed Sodom and Gomorrah of Lut alayhi salam, the same entity who gave the bashara to Ibrahim, the same entity who saved Musa and destroyed Fir'aun, the same entity who blessed Maryam and saw the birth of Isa, and the same entity who spoke with our Prophet ﷺ, that same angel, Allah only allows him to come one night. And so it is called Laylatul Qadr, a night of significance, a night of packness, because the angels are all there. So this is the second meaning of Qadr, and that is the restriction of the angels. The third meaning of Qadr, Laylatul Qadr, it is a night of actual decree. Qadr here means decree. Qadr here means actual qadr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, qada and qadr, one of the 6 pillars of Iman. And tu'mina bil qadri khayrihi wa sharrihi wa hulwihi wa murrihi. We believe in qadr, all of it, the good of it, the bad of it, the sweet of it, the bitter of it. So Laylatul Qadr is called Qadr because it is the night of Qadr. What does it mean it is the night of Qadr, of the predestination? And again, that's a much longer topic. Very briefly, there are levels of Qadr. Many scholars mention 5 levels of Qadr. There's the Qadr of pre-creation. There's the Qadr of 50,000 years. There's the Qadr when you are in the womb of your mother and the angel writes down. There's the Qadr that is annual, which is Laylatul Qadr. And then there is the daily Qadr. That كُلَّ يَوْمٍ هُوَ فِي شَأْنٍ. So there's the daily Qadr as well. So the Laylatul Qadr is the annual Qadr. And what does it mean it is the annual Qadr? تَنَزَّلُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ وَالرُّوحُ فِيهَا بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ. That phrase is Laylatul Qadr. They come down with the command of Allah for all the affairs of men. بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِمْ is with the command of Allah. مِنْ كُلِّ أَمْرٍ, for every affair that mankind deals with. Who shall be born? Who shall die? Who shall get more rizq? Who shall be struck with the disease? Who this? Who that? That will be announced on Laylatul Qadr. So it is called Laylatul Qadr. And our Prophet ﷺ said, nothing changes Qadr other than dua. Nothing changes Qadr other than dua. So on Laylatul Qadr, we want to be making dua so that we can change our Qadr at the last minute. And Qadr can be changed with dua. So it is possible, for example, that the angel will write when we are in the wombs of our mother, that so-and-so will be struck with cancer and he will die at the age of 50. So the angel knows that he's going to die at the age of 50 because that is what is written in the Qadr when he's in the womb of his mother. Lo and behold, he reaches 50, he gets cancer, but he makes dua, and he makes dua, and he makes dua. And so on Laylatul Qadr, Allah announces, you know what? give him leeway. He's not going to die this year. That is Laylatul Qadr. We want to make dua on Laylatul Qadr to get the best Qadr on that night. So we make dua for Laylatul Qadr because it is a night of Qadr. And the fourth and final meaning, and then inshallah I'll open the floor because I know our brothers have given enough lectures and I'm not trying to prolong it even more. I know you guys mashallah have been here the whole night. The final meaning I'll say, and there are more than this, but these are the four main meanings of Qadr, is that the one who worships Allah on Laylatul Qadr, he becomes a person of Qadr, a person of importance, right? So the one who worships Allah and the one who manages to be a righteous person on that night, he is the person or she is the person who becomes a person of Qadr. And that is why of the three things that the Prophet ﷺ said, that whoever catches them and is not able to be forgiven, there is no good in him. One of those three things was Laylatul Qadr. Whoever manages to catch Laylatul Qadr and still cannot utilize Laylatul Qadr and still is not able to have his sins forgiven, may he never be forgiven, meaning there's no hope for him. This is one of the three things he mentioned. So when you worship Allah on Laylatul Qadr, you become a person of Qadr because your status and rank is raised up high. Imam Malik in his Muwatta, he has a famous tradition in there, which is slightly weak. There's a missing link in it, but it is in the Muwatta. There's no problem mentioning this, that the Prophet ﷺ saw that the previous ummahs had been given many years, many hundreds of years. So he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he said, Ya Rabb, my Lord, how can my ummah compete with the previous ummahs when my ummah will only be given limited years? Hadith is in Tirmidhi. The Prophet said, أعمار أمتي ما بين 60 و 70, authentic hadith. The lifespan of my ummah is typically going to be between 60 and 70 years. The hadith in Tirmidhi. أعمار أمتي ما بين 60 و 70. So he said, this is the average lifespan of my ummah will be 60 and 70. So the hadith in Muwatta says that he said, oh Allah, how can my ummah compete with the previous ummahs? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed, إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ وَمَا أَدْرَكَ مَا لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ لَيْلَةُ الْقَدْرِ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ. Meaning, this is how your ummah can compete with the ummahs that live for 1,000 years. I am giving them one night every year that is equal to more than a lifetime. There you go. You worship one night and you will be able to compete with the previous ummahs. So we ask that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us to be of those who are praying on Laylatul Qadr. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows us to be of those who are fasting in this month and have their sins forgiven. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless us with the best Qadr and to avert from it any calamity. And inshallah with that we will open the floor for whatever Q&A inshallah. The what?
Alright, so how do you know if you have been forgiven in this Ramadan? That's the question. Well, how do you know you haven't been forgiven? The Prophet ﷺ, in the same hadith that Shaykh Yasir was referring to, the Prophet ﷺ was seen ascending the mimbar. And he said, Ameen on every step. And the Sahaba inquired, Ya Rasulullah, we've seen you do something out of the norm. Please explain this to us. And one of the Ameens that the Prophet ﷺ said was a reply to a dua that Jibreel alayhi salam made against those, Man adraka Ramadan falam yughfar lahu. Whoever finds Ramadan, stumbled upon Ramadan, فَلَمْ يُغْفَرْ لَهُ, and they couldn't get forgiven. How hopeless can a person be in front of the vast blessing and mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that a person can get a whiff of Ramadan, spend time in Ramadan, and that person cannot get forgiven? It takes a lot to be mahroom in the month of Ramadan. And it doesn't take much to be marhum, but alive, but marhum in the month of Ramadan. Be engulfed in the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a sign of the acceptance of one's a'mal in Ramadan is the continuity of that deed after Ramadan. A sign that a person may be forgiven and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But we can only give ourselves this indication that the continuity of tawfiq and the continuity of nadama and regret for whatever we have done in the past is a sign that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wishes khair for us. So the question is, how do I know if I'm not forgiven in Ramadan? How can one not be forgiven in Ramadan? من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Whoever fasts in the month of Ramadan, iman, with fully committed, واحتساب, and having expectations. When you expect something, when you're expecting a result, as the saying goes in English, no expectations, no disappointments. So when you have no expectations, you don't do anything, there's really nothing to be worried about because you've set the bar so low. But when you have expectations, when you see something at the end, when you have this hope and drive, the way you carry yourself is different because you're expecting something. You want it. You're expecting it. So any expectation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is matched with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's response. So if we are expecting to be forgiven by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you better believe that you will be forgiven inshaAllah. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not allow a single one of us to leave this majlis without being totally and completely forgiven. Ameen.
Jazakallah khairan. I guess I'll take a few questions. Like we said earlier, we have a long list of questions, so I'm going to try to go through these as quickly as possible, and then Imam Azhar will take us home after that, inshallah ta'ala. Just to add to what Imam Abdul Rahman said about that question, I remember there's a statement of one of the Salaf who said that the reward of good deeds that are performed in Ramadan is good deeds after Ramadan. So if you follow up Ramadan with good deeds, that's a sign that your worship of Ramadan has been accepted. But if you follow up Ramadan with bad deeds, and that's a sign that your worship of Ramadan was rejected. May Allah protect us all. There's a question here. I want to revise my Quran that I have memorized, which may require re-memorizing some. Should I prioritize nazara/reading over re-memorizing, or is it fine if I choose to revise? In my humble opinion, my brother or sister, it is more important to revise the Quran. Maintaining the Quran in your memory is a requirement. And when you are doing that, you're already reciting the Quran, you're getting the reward of reciting the Quran. So that should take priority to revise the Quran. However, if you have some extra time, it would also be nice to also, in addition, to do some reading of the Quran, especially if you do that with tadabbur, because that is the most beneficial thing to do. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The next question here is, which one is more rewarding, especially in the month of Ramadan and the last 10 nights, to attend Fajr Salah in Jama'ah or to attend Qiyam and miss Fajr in Masjid, as I may not be able to do both? Allahu alam. I think the answer should be obvious, that attending Salatul Fajr in the Masjid has to be given priority to attending Qiyamul Layl in the Masjid. One of the reasons for that is because there's actually ikhtilaf about attending Salatul Jama'ah for the 5 daily salawat. There is actually an opinion that requires that you have to pray in Jama'ah. And on top of that, there are even opinions of the ulama that say that if you attend Salatul Fajr in the Masjid, you get the reward of praying half the night. So it is more important to attend Salatul Fajr in the Masjid. If you have to choose between the two, that's what you should choose. However, having said that, if you can attend part of the Qiyam in the Masjid, not the entire Qiyam, part of the Qiyam, go home and sleep and then come back for Salatul Fajr, of course that's better than not attending any Qiyam. And if not even that, if you can do your own Qiyam at the Masjid, at home, before coming for Salatul Fajr, that's even better. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The next question is, how do you know, and we already answered that one. The next one is, with limited time between, I'm going to skip this one. We have been hearing Allah frees people in the month of Ramadan from the hellfire. I think somebody covered this already. Okay, let me just say something about this. We've been hearing Allah frees people in the month of Ramadan from the hellfire, but the day of judgment hasn't come yet. How do these people went to the hellfire without judgment? Can you please explain? As Sheikh Yasir alluded to this, and also I think Imam Abdul Rahman, that the decree, when the person is in the womb of the mother, at that point, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends an angel who records a few things about every one of us. And among those things that is recorded at that time is a shaqiyun aw sa'id. Are we going to have a miserable afterlife? Or are we going to be from those who are successful in the afterlife? So from that day, the angels have been told to write down where we're going to be. And that's because Allah knows what we're going to do. His recording of that does not make us do that. However, when, for example, in Ramadan, when we make dua, when we repent from our sins, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says in the Quran that He can erase whatever He wants and can leave and confirm in that book whatever He wants. وَعِنْدَهُ أُمُّ الْكِتَابِ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after He sees us repenting and making dua, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell the angel, remove this person's name from the list of those who are going to hellfire and put his name in the list of those who are going to Jannah. So that's what is meant when we say that Allah frees people from the fire of hell, meaning these people are destined to go to hell, meaning that it is recorded in the records of the angels that they are going to hell. But Allah knows from before that this person will make dua, and at that point Allah tells the angels, erase it, remove it, free this person from that list of people who are going to hellfire and put his name in the list of those who are going to Jannah. And some of the Sahaba even used to make dua. Umar ibn al-Khattab and others, they used to make dua and say, Ya Allah, if you have recorded my name among those people who are going to the hellfire, please erase it and put me in the list of those who are going to Jannah. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala free us all from the fire of hell in this blessed month of Ramadan. The next question here is, was the Quran finished in Ramadan or only revealed in Ramadan? What was the exact connection to Ramadan and the Quran? Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala anhuma, he said that the entire Quran was sent down from Al-Bayt al-Izzah or Bayt al-Izzah to Al-Lawh al-Mahfuz, from the seventh heaven to the first heaven on the night of Al-Qadr. That happened in the heavenly realm. And then on that same night, the first revelation came down to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from the preserved tablet to the heart of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on that night as well. So that's when the revelation to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam began on the night of Qadr, and then of course it continued for 23 years piecemeal. Wallahu ta'ala alam. The next question is, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Does Laylatul Qadr fall on different nights every year? So when is Laylatul Qadr? Does anybody know? Anybody? If you know, please tell me, inshallah ta'ala. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani, rahimahullah ta'ala, al-Hafid ibn Hajar, in Fath al-Bari, records 40 opinions about when Laylatul Qadr is, which doesn't make sense because there's only 30 days in Ramadan, right? But he mentions 40 opinions, and I can show you a list. I have them recorded somewhere in my computer, all 40 opinions that are there. Okay, so one of those opinions is that it actually changes every year. It changes every year. Many of the scholars felt that that was the strongest opinion. So that is one of the opinions. There are other opinions that it is the night of the 27th, or the night of the 25th, or the night of the 29th, or the night of the 23rd, or the night of the 21st. And there are other opinions as well. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. The next question is it okay to do i'tikaf for 1 or 2 days, or does it have to be at least 10 days? There is some difference of opinion about that, but Allahu A'lam, the opinion that I feel is stronger is that it is okay to do i'tikaf for any duration that you want. It doesn't have to be 10 days. It can be 1 day, it can be 5 days, it can even be less than a day. Okay? But the point is that i'tikaf, do it properly. That is seclusion, disengage yourself from the dunya and focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, doing 10-day i'tikaf consecutively, there's more reward in that, no doubt. And that was the regular sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that he did every year, as we spoke about earlier. And we also said that 1 year he did 20 days, and 1 year he even did all 30 days. And Allah knows best. And the last question that I'm going to take before I give it to Imam Azhar is Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum assalam. Can i'tikaf for men, is it only doable in the masjid or can it be performed at any other secluded place? Example, a separate closed room at one's residence. Is that allowed? As far as I know, the four schools of thought agree that there is no i'tikaf outside of the masjid. I'tikaf has to be done in the masjid, especially for men. Now there are some difference of opinion about women, especially in the Hanafi school, but for men there is no difference of opinion. I'tikaf has to be done in the masjid, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Jazakumullah khairan. Inshallah, we have 4 minutes before we prepare for Qiyam. We want to thank, on behalf of the Islamic Association of Collin County, we want to thank all of the community for coming out tonight and attending. We want to thank Sheikh Abdurrahman Bashir, Sheikh Asr Qadi, our dear brother Sheikh Nadeem, and mashallah Sheikh Aslan for putting together a great forum and a great discussion. I apologize. Yeah, I'm going to try to. We apologize that we couldn't get to everyone's questions. Some of the questions were not pertaining to Ramadan or to the last 10 nights, so we just felt that those questions didn't have that same level of precedence as Sheikh Aslan had set the guidelines beforehand. But nevertheless, we have a few questions that we can cover right now. In regards to the dua of Musa alayhi salam that Sheikh Nadeem stated, it is in chapter 28, verse number 24. So if you check in the Quran, chapter 28, verse 24, you will find the dua, Rabbi inni lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. And in regards to the dua of Yunus alayhi salam, that's chapter 21, verse 87, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin. The next question is a very complicated question. Is it Ramadan or is it Ramzan? Brothers, you should laugh. It's a very complicated question, So, unfortunately, in the Urdu language, there was no tajweed ijaza. So, in Urdu, if you say it's Ramzan, it's Ramzan. And if it's in Arabic, it's Ramadan. It's a matter of the language itself. I don't think... Ramadan also in Turkish. So, and Ramdan in America, or ramen noodles. So... I don't know if you guys saw that meme. There was a Sikh who has a turban on and he was eating. And a white guy next to him said, hey, I saw you guys are fasting. Goes, hey, I'm sick. Goes, I'm sorry, I hope you feel better soon. So, alhamdulillah. So, moving along. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam. Is it permissible to watch movies or listen to music without vulgarity while fasting? The best answer to that is if you feel that it's not right. The fact that you asked the question, it in itself is an indication. So I think the answer is sound. If you feel something mahaka fi nafsik, it kind of gives you unease in your heart, and you know that this may not be right, then maybe that's Ramadan guiding you towards, putting some things aside and restructuring your priorities, inshallah. In regards to the question that Sheikh Hassan did answer regarding if Ramadan people are being freed from hell and the day of judgment has yet to come, my personal take on this also, just to add to what Sheikh Hassan said, is that if a person was to die today and their evil deeds exceeded their good deeds, ultimately they may have ended up in the hellfire. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala freeing them can mean that Allah purified them, cleansed them, and neutralize the scale in the sense that it wouldn't have been as such. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala freeing people every night in Ramadan and freeing equivalent and more in the last night, it means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is maybe even giving us a chance and the opportunity to change our ways so that our good deeds may outweigh our bad deeds. So when death comes to us, inshallah, we may not be in the state that we may be right now at this moment. I'tikaf, as Sheikh Aslan said, one night is even good. I think if any time you could spend in the masjid. Remember, we come into the masjid, we say the dua, and also make intention for i'tikaf. I'm here, and whatever time I'm spending in the masjid, it's i'tikaf. So inshallah, it's better that way than anything else. Last thing is, alhamdulillah, Sheikh Hassan covered everything else. Yes, in regards to the Quran being revealed, inzal versus tanzil, the entire Quran's revelation at one shot, and then of course it trickling down within a span of 23 years. That is basically what we can cover at this time. So brothers and sisters, alhamdulillah, we have concluded another session of the Makkah program. Alhamdulillah, do one housekeeping part before we end. Alhamdulillah, everyone say Alhamdulillah. We are blessed here, mashallah, in Collin County that these mashayikh have done a tremendous job to create a level of camaraderie and understanding amongst themselves, that they saw the community as a focal point, that we need to work towards the betterment of our community. And that is why, alhamdulillah, they created Makkah, and that's why, alhamdulillah, every month in a different masjid in Collin County, we hold a program. The goal isn't to discuss fiqh issues or to deliberate or to debate. The goal is to work with our communities to understand the needs of our communities and as a collective force address those needs from different angles. I want to ask from you all, how many of you feel this is of benefit? Please raise your hands. MashaAllah. How many of you feel it's really taking a lot of time and we should just shelve it right now? So MashaAllah. Jazakumullah khairan. We are very humbled by your participation tonight. Please pray for the mashayikh, their masajid, the shura members, and everyone that is making an effort to have this happen. And inshallah we'll be announcing the next Makkah event. I think it's going to be in the end of June. We'll be announcing it soon. Just look forward to seeing that in your emails or on your Facebook post of your respective masjids. So Jazakumullah khairan to everyone. Sheikh Hassan will conclude, inshallah.
I just wanted to say that, remember how many questions we had? How many questions do we have? 50. Since then we've had another 30 questions. Okay, so I apologize we could not get to all of your questions, but a lot of your questions you should really ask your imam. A lot of these questions about what breaks the fast, what doesn't break the fast. Alhamdulillah, all of you are in the Collin County Masajid. You all have imams that are very qualified. So just approach them and ask them, inshallah ta'ala, you get your questions answered. Any last words from any of our esteemed panelists, Imam Nadeem, Sheikh Yasir, Imam Abdul Rahman? جزاكم الله خيرا سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك السلام عليكم ورحمة الله.
Inshallah we can form the lines. Brother Mustafa will be coming up and inshallah Qiyam will begin. Qiyam prayer will go till 3:15, after which inshallah we will then disperse. Jazakumullah khairan.